So this is the jade workshop.
This is a little jade workshop. We've got a point carver here.
So point carver is
which I can turn on.
like a big drill, is it? But with
well, these are burrs. You can see all different size burrs here.
Is it glistening in there?
Yeah, diamond burrs.
People can see the glistening there.
Yes. And I can take this chuck off and put this grinding wheel in.
Okay.
So this is 100 grit diamond.
It's diamond again, yeah.
So with 100 grit, it's a roughing out wheel.
All right.
Quite coarse.
And does it get through the jade, does it?
Oh, quite quickly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, jade on the Moh scale, which is diamonds are 10.
And this is the scale of hardness, is it?
Yeah. Moh, M-O-H. Mr. Moh was a German who invented that scale.
All right.
So jade, for instance, is about 6 1/4, 6.5.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a bit of New Zealand mottled cream and green.
Is that sought after, the mottled stuff, or are they?
It's just my personal taste.
Mm.
So this is roughed out. At this stage, I have to polish it.
Okay.
Same
so
with,
when it's polished, it'll all come up nice and shiny green.
Yeah, and you'll see the colour much better. So here's another jade pebble, yellowish green, a little bit murky. So I do all that on this point carver machine.
Okay. Yep.
And then when I want to refine aspects, I use this handpiece, and I put in a diamond burr. No, that one won't fit. What do we got here? It's a little ball burr.
And that's for more finer work.
Yeah. So we can switch it on. Here goes up to about 30,000 revs.
Okay. Which beats that there, and
so I'll use this for finer work. You know, such as in these grooves, different shaped burrs.
Okay.
And I'll use, of course, I use this bigger burr for getting in, undercutting the edge. Get rid of that. So this undercuts the edge, which I like.
Yep.
That goes on the big chuck.
Right, and you just hold the pieces.
So I'm hand holding the piece
yep.
against the turning point.
Right.
And then all that diamond work for me is the roughing out process. So then I use these artificial stone rubbers, or files, if you like, stone files. So they're used with a bit of water, and you go over the whole surface rubbing.
Right.
So this stone here, for instance, it's about 1,000 grit.
And that's a lot finer than the diamonds.
This one here is 200 grit.
Okay.
Much coarser. So I'd start off with this one before I move on to these finer grits.
Wow.
So I like to make hand holded pieces rather than pendants so much.
Okay.
I make both.
Right, this scale of hardness. How does the old river rocks? Was it Greywacke?
Greywacke. I think that's about probably maybe a little harder, 6.5 to 7 maybe.
Okay. Have you got any of that handy?
Greywacke. It varies quite a bit. Here's a bowl that I'm working on.
That's quite nice, actually, isn't it? It's just ordinary rocks out the river, but it just does look
don't
good.
Cost you anything. Pick them up, and I go out to Pukerua Bay or Makara Beach. You get good Greywacke out there.
Okay, it all comes down to probably the Wanganui River, does it? Or Rangitikei?
No, or New Zealand is made up of pretty much Greywacke all over, apart from the volcanic areas.
Right. So do you have to know a bit of geology and?
It helps.
It helps, does it? Right. And what about the greenstone, the jade?
Let's get rid of the word greenstone because it has no actual meaning.
Okay.
you're talking about a green stone, which
Yes.
legally might be plastic, glass,
Oh, okay.
serpentine,
Could be
green
anything.
quartz.
What is it? What is its proper name? Is
Well, in New Zealand, most carvers would like to use the term Pounamu for New
Right.
Zealand jade,
Yep.
Nephrite jade, or just the word jade.
Okay.
They're all good and legal.
Right. Okay.
So if you buy something that's called genuine New Zealand greenstone,
You could be buying.
it could be anything,
Right. Right.
including synthetic.
Yep.
You've got no
Yeah.
legal comeback.
Right. But if people wanted to pick some of this stuff up, where would be the places to go?
Well, you can walk the West Coast beaches.
The West Coast beaches or the
And
South
you're
Island?
allowed to pick up jade pebbles
Oh, all right.
off the South Island.
Yeah, but what about the
beaches.
rivers?
The
There's
rivers,
sort of-
they're either under Ngāi Tahu protection or Ngāti Waiwai, for instance, on the West Coast.
Okay. So it's a bit of a no-no, is it?
No, you can only go to those areas with Maori friends or Maori permission.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And that's the protocol for it.
Yeah, yes.
Very good. Very good. Okay. And so someone gets a big hunk of this stuff here off the beach or somewhere.
Greywacke, well, anybody can use Greywacke.
How do you go ahead and do you slice it or do you just grind it down from there?
I choose the natural pebbles. So this was the shape of the pebble I picked up off
Right.
Makara Beach.
So you didn't have to cut that in half first or
No,
anything?
no cutting it. Well,
Just hollowing it
grinding
out.
into
Just
it.
grinding out. Yeah.
and it's the same with the jade pebbles. It's a natural shape of the jade pebble.
Okay. And
It's a motley green, sort of inanga green with a bit of kokopoo. The brown flecks through it,
okay. Golly. gee.
named after the kokopoo fish.
Right. So there's different colours, different shades within the.
Oh yes, for instance, I like the yellows. And here's a nice piece of New Zealand yellow jade.
That is gorgeous, isn't it? Really
To me,
big.
that's a very precious gem. But you know, this is the outside. It's a soft, limey-looking
Yep.
piece of rock. So
Right.
I've got.
So how would you cut that?
Well,
You've
this
got
has been sawn with a diamond saw.
A diamond saw.
That's how I got it. It was given to me by a good friend down the west coast.
All right.
So I've got to decide what to carve out of this, and I'll carve a single piece. I won't chop it up into little bits.
Right.
I don't see any point in that.
No.
So then we have the kokopoo with
It's very
the
pale, isn't
brown spots here. In this case, it's fairly opaque, and depending on how you cut the stone, you'll get different patterns with the spots coming out.
All right. So it's a bit of a grain through.
Yeah. So if you look at this end, it's different again,
Yep.
and that's the natural outside.
Right. So you've got to sit back and look at that and think about what you're going to do and what you're not going to do. And
Yeah.
yeah.
So this is a fairly standard piece of nephrite. You've got quite a lot of rind, or what we call the rind or skin.
Mm.
That'll be softer stone. So the good stone is all in this core.
Okay.
And when you're looking for jade, the pebbles and boulders are almost always oval, elongated.
All right.
And that's because of the grain. The grain runs lengthways.
Right. Okay.
It's almost like a wood grain.
So they've come out of the mountain or something and gone down rivers, have they, to get a bit
Well,
rounded off?
this is rolled down the river a bit.
Yeah.
The crystals, they're elongated crystals, so that's the way it wears
Right.
in the
Okay.
ground and in the rivers
Mm.
over millions of years. It's difficult to see, but this is a good quality piece of jade.
Really
You can
dark,
see
isn't it?
the edge there.
I think so.
You get that deep green colour, kahurangi, you'd call it. And this was the natural outside surface of the boulder. It would have been a beautiful boulder, all naturally polished.
Whereabouts would that have come from? The South Island again?
Probably came from the Marsden area, that piece. The yellow one came from the Arahura River, as did this Kokopu piece.
Gosh.
So each river has its own type of stone.
Okay.
So, for instance, this is a pre-European adze, jade adze, and almost certainly that came out of the Arahura River.
Where's that? In the South Island?
It's quite a big river behind Hokitika.
Oh, okay.
So the stone would have come out of that river.
Right.
It's the same with some of these pendants. That's a typical inanga. These two are inanga. That's a cloak pin, a little face carved into it. Mm. This has been used as a chisel as well as an earring. And these are other eardrops. It's also been used as a chisel. And this one, which is very rare, is a lure, a fishing lure, made of jade.
Wow. And
you can see this little platform here. That's where the barb, probably a bone barb, would be lashed on.
Right, and hoping to get a...
And then it's towed through the water to catch a kahawai, maybe. Mm. Shoal fish.
Quite a collection, isn't it?
So those are all pre-European Maori.
Yeah.
And we have this adze, which is a very early type, with the narrowed tang or waist of the adze where it's lashed on to the wooden handle.
Right.
So these tanged adzes are rare.
Right, and these are part of your collection, are they?
Yes,
well, yeah.
Yes. This one I actually bought at auction.
Okay.
And of course the tiki. If that will stay there or not. No.
But I think people can see it anyway.
So this is a pre-European tiki.
So this would have been carved out.
Carved with stone tools.
400 years ago, would it? Or
anything from, say, 300 years to 800 years ago.
Wow.
The side here, there's a different patina, if you like, or wear. That relates to when it was an adze. It was an adze originally. So those two sides there, and this two cut marks relate to the adze that originally was. The blade was here.
Okay, yes, yes.
Now, on the belly here, if you look at it under a microscope, it's also very worn, which suggests a good age. Then we have on the back here one hole that's worn through, suspension hole. The second hole which is almost broken through.
Right.
A third hole which is being ground and drilled but not finished. And then a later period hole. It's a biconical hole drilled from both sides. So this Heitiki has seen a lot of history.
It has, hasn't it?
Which I don't know, sadly.
And that would have been given to an elder or a chief or something, would it?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yeah. A person of high position would wear this. Sadly, or my good luck, I suppose, I found it in a Rotorua junk shop.
Golly gee.
And I was able to purchase it.
Yes.
The odd Mary.
Right.
So I've still got a bit of polishing to do on this yet. But you've got some nice green coming through. It's a full-size traditional Mary.
Wow, it is big, isn't it? What does it weigh like?
Oh, I don't know what it weighs.
A couple of kilos or so, would it?
Yeah, probably. I've got this one here, which is, it's not particularly good stone, but I liked it because of the variation of the dark and light. And in fact, this light area is a different material. It's got a crystal structure. You might see the odd fleck. Haven't finished the butt on this. So, yeah, this is a mixture of nephrite and some other material. But it's held together as a Mary, a fairly large Mary.
Yep. Wow.
And then we have some of the natural.
This is some of the natural stuff.
Yeah, this has come out of a river. At some stage, probably in a flood, the boulder has been split in half. You've got this big fracture here.
Yep.
It's all seen some water wear. So early Maori would deliberately pick up a piece like this because it's ideal for making a bigger adze out of.
Yes. Yeah.
Woodworking adze. Yeah, it's sort of half made already.
Right, just the right shape for something.
By
like
nature.
That. Yeah, yeah.
But other pieces, you've got this cream and green piece of jade. Some people prefer this type of colour.
It's gorgeous, isn't
So
it?
it's a cut face, and this is the natural
The
outside face.
Yeah. Beautiful, isn't it? Really is.
And then if you're really lucky on the west coast, you might find a pebble like this on the beach.
Just on the beach, just sitting there.
If you're lucky.
Yeah.
So to me, this is a real taonga, a treasure, and I will never cut this. To me, it's so special in itself.
But you've just got to be lucky, eh?
Yeah, it's good quality stone. It's nicely water worn. It's just a nice thing to pick up and fondle.
Right.
But you get all sorts of colours. I've got this piece which I picked up out of kind of the throw-out bin at one of the jade factories. And we've got purple colouring coming in here. Creams, a bit of inanga in the centre.
God, it isn't gorgeous, isn't it?
And again, I don't know what to do with this piece. It's so unusual. And then you... here's a piece of jade from inland Otago. Get a good look at that. Quite a different colour pattern to it. This was given to me by Russell Beck years ago. He'd found it.
Bit of slate or something.
No, it's jade.
Just jade, yeah.
It's jade, yeah. Unusual. And then we even get red jade.
By Jabs, there is quite a bit of variation, isn't there?
Now I have to tell you, this has been heat treated.
Heat treated.
Yeah.
Does that cause the coloration?
This causes the red to come out. So again, Russell Beck did a lot of experimentation because he found a lot of adzes had been hardened through heat treating.
All right.
And only works with medium quality stone. Top quality, you wouldn't heat treat it.
Okay.
But the medium quality hardens a little bit through heating up in a fire, and it changes to these reds.
Wow.
So yep,
This was natural, yeah.
with red veins running through it, we'd call it tota weka.
Okay.
Means weka blood.
Right. Okay.
But being artificially induced, I suppose you could still call it tota weka, but it's not the real stuff.
Right.
But it is jade.
Yeah. But it would have. Can anybody tell if it has been heat treated? Is it just a little bit harder? Or?
Well, the average person wouldn't know.
Wouldn't know. No.
But most carvers
would have some idea.
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant, brilliant.
So it gives you a
rough overview,
rundown on the jades. You know, there's a box full of different jades there.
Right. Bits that you picked up from here and there and
traded
and all
or
sorts.
picked up or bought.
Is there anything toxic about the dust that comes off it or anything like that?
Yes, you don't want to be breathing in the dust.
Okay, so you put it under the water.
You work with water. So I have a gravity-fed water container here.
Yeah.
Tap and a hose that comes to a point here.
Yeah.
So that hose will drip onto the diamond burr,
which keeps all the dust down, and
it keeps. Yeah. So that the slush goes down the sink, and then I have a bucket to empty every now and then.
Yep.
So it's a very simple setup. Other people will throw more money at it.
Yeah. But it's not really necessary, is it?
No, you can work simply.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I'm a production carver. I mostly carve one-off pieces.
Yeah.
And they sit there until they sell.
Right.
Sometimes they sit there for 10 years.
Well, that's the name of it.
But everything
will
will sell eventually.
Yeah. Oh, that's incredible. Well, I hope people enjoy this movie. I don't know whether there's anybody else with a collection of jade or the knowledge that you've got.
Most jade carvers will have special bits of jade they won't cut.
Right.
Or sell, one or the other.
But
I pulled out some other, for instance, here we have some Guatemalan.
Oh, so it's not just New Zealand that has this stuff?
No. Now this is not nephrite, this is jadeite.
Okay.
And jadeite is found in Burma and Guatemala and a little bit in California.
Wow.
It's harder. On the Mohs scale it's around about 8, 7.5, 8.
Okay. What about this nephrite stuff that they put on the TV, the Canadian guys?
Yeah, that's all nephrite.
Okay.
And British Columbia, Canada.
Right.
They have a huge mountain of jade.
Golly gee. Okay.
And at the moment, the Chinese, they have an annual sale up there in BC and in the Yukon as well. 90% of the sold jade is being bought by the Chinese.
Wow.
Yeah.
And big pieces. And
they're stockpiling it.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Okay. Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you.
I did pull out some other pieces, John.
So these are some others.
Yeah. So this little pile here, it's not necessarily good quality, but it's a range of colours of jadeite mainly.
And this is New Zealand, is it?
No, this is all Chinese.
This is all Chinese. So they've got their own...
They've got their own stone, nephrite in the north.
Okay.
And jadeite from Burma.
All right.
Coming into mainly South China. So you get a lovely range of colours.
You do.
Browns, greens, whites.
And have these been carved, have they, or?
Yeah, these are just what we call tourist junk in China. You buy these very cheaply on the street and souvenir shops.
All right.
Anything from $5, $10, New Zealand, in that range.
Good stuff.
But on the other hand, you want to see a quality piece of carving. You've got this nephrite white jade. We in English call it mutton fat. And very, very fine carving on this little duck who's holding water lilies in its beak. So the carving is beautiful and so fine. I don't know if you can pick up on that, but so this is from the Ming period.
When was that?
We're talking about 1600, 1650.
Wow.
So this is really top carving compared to these very rough or crude carved tourist items.
Okay.
So the old Chinese valued the white nephrite.
They liked the white
most highly.
Right.
The jadeite came into China about 1600 from Burma and became popular because there's a very bright, almost emerald green in the jadeites, sometimes called imperial green, and that in the jadeite range is the highest price.
Okay.
Where in the nephrite it was the white, the pure white, that was highly prized.
Right. And I see you've got some books there, so the research is ongoing, is it?
Ongoing. Of course, you got this New Zealand Pounamu by Russell Beck and Micah Mason.
You mentioned it.
And it covers jade sources and jade carvings. For instance, here's a range of different colours of New Zealand jade.
Okay. We better not do too much in case we go...
We've got some carvings in here somewhere, yeah.
well, just gorgeous, aren't they?
So a range of different carvers' work.
Yep.
John Edgar, we've got Don Salt. This is a recent, fairly recent graduate. What was his name? Paul Bradford.
Right. So it's quite strong in New Zealand, the people coming through the schools or universities.
Well, you can take jade carving at Taipotini, Polytech and Greymouth.
All right.
That's the main source of learning.
Okay.
Otherwise, if you've got a little bit of skill, you might get a job in one of the jade factories, Hokitika, if they
Right,
got
right.
space to take you on.
Okay.
This piece here is a magnificent piece, world class. It's a jade bowl with a lid and a loose ring by Don Salt.
Gosh.
And I have to say Don Salt is probably our top master jade carver in the country.
How would you do a ring on the handle like that?
You'd have to ask Don.
That's pretty incredible, isn't
But
it?
the old-time Chinese not only made a single ring, they would make a chain of rings
Right.
out of one piece of jade.
Wow.
So as far as this ring carving is concerned, it's nothing new. But Don has the expertise to do it. So that's one good reference book. Jade of New Zealand, Pounamu by Russell Beck.
Right.
Now we have another book here, Jade by American Roger Caveen,
All right.
which has a very good section by Russell Beck on New Zealand jade. But all the other jades are covered.
By others, are they?
Well, here for instance is a range of jade colours. All the greens through to white, oranges, lavenders. Jade comes in pretty much every colour, including black.
Wow.
So
That is beautiful, isn't it?
this is also another reason why we're trying to get rid of this term green stone.
Yes, yeah, okay.
It doesn't apply. Look at this. They're
I
not
know.
green.
Mm.
Here we have some New Zealand carving. Don Salt, for instance. Russell Beck with Siberian jade.
They're really inspirational, aren't they?
Here's another Don Salt piece with Kokopu jade,
Yep.
speckled native trout.
And I suppose anybody can do this, can't they, with a little bit of a setup like yours and a bit of
anybody
patience.
can carve.
And would
you,
they be better to practice on something else like bone first, or?
No, if you want to use diamond tools, you have
Really got to
diamond's
go
no good on bone. You use it on stone.
Right.
So these are three of my stone pieces: Nephrite jade, bowenite, and Greywacke.
Gosh, okay.
And they're just small bowls, but I like them for their form.
Right.
You can pick them up and turn them around, or we use this one for salt pot.
Gosh. No, that's brilliant. Well, thank you very much. And that's the current exhibition that's on in 2020, Travelling New Zealand.
Yeah, it's travelling around New Zealand for the next few years.
Right.
Now, I wanted to show you these pieces. To go back to early Chinese jade carving, these are from the Han Shan period, which is about 5,500 years old.
So these are around about 5,500 years old. You got to wonder how they would do that sort of thing, wouldn't
So
you?
the stone has weathered in the ground. Being in the ground that long can change the colour of the jade,
Okay.
depending on the minerals surrounding it.
Right. But it's rock, isn't it? It's stone. So
It's
you've
stone.
got to wonder how they would have created the shapes.
Oh, exactly the same way as the early Maori carve jade.
All right.
With stone drills, stone rubbers,
Right.
grinders. A lot of the polishing was done with fine quartz grits.
Oh yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Other things that they would have found around the place.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now this one here, Chinese work, the jade is from Yemen. It's a new source of nephrite jade. Now this is a bead, and very, very fine little dragons all round it. Now this is laser cut.
Laser.
So they've used a laser to carve this. So you feed the design, the program, into your computer.
Yeah.
And then your laser working, being a cylinder, working backwards and forwards. And the stone slowly turns as the laser is working this way.
Gosh.
And of course, you can make numerous beads exactly the same.
Right. In quick, smart time.
Yeah. Now this one, it's in a jasper stone. It's, I think, a little bit softer than nephrite, so this might be about 5, perhaps, on the Mo scale. It's a baby dragon, and I bought this in a back street stone carver near Shanghai, a place called Suzhou. And I was so totally impressed with the fine detail. There's not a diamond mark left on it. So these are one family carving workshops, back alleys, hidden away. And I explored this area on my bicycle in China. And I ended up buying this piece for $100.
Wow.
Now with this amount of carving on say a piece of jade in New Zealand, you'd be looking at probably $800 to $1,000.
Just to cover the time
Yeah.
taken to do it.
So with a bit of bargaining, in China the prices
They're a little
for
bit
the backstreet carvers are
Yeah.
pretty low.
Yeah. Beautiful though, isn't it?
It's a beautiful piece of work. Yeah, it's one of my favourite contemporary carvings. Now here's another piece with some age. This is 800 BC, and it's from Mexico, from the Olmec cultural period. Typical Olmec with the bulbous head.
Okay.
This is made of Guatemalan jadeite. This blue jadeite, until recently the source was unknown, but it's Guatemalan, and this was possibly a burial item. And the foot, there's a broken foot here, that might have been deliberately broken when the thing was buried, to release the spirit of the jade figure with the human body.
And it's still detailed though, isn't it? From how, how many years ago?
800 BC.
800 BC, yeah.
The technique, this is quite simplified compared to, say, this piece.
Yeah.
You've got grind marks all over it, and some drill holes. Like in this grind mark, they've drilled a little hole here first,
Yeah.
and then filed a stone file into it. The legs are very simple, file angles, and so on. But a great little piece. I bought this, well actually I swapped it for several ivory carvings of mine to a jade collector dealer in Guatemala.
Wow. So yes, isn't that amazing? The colour range, the skills needed.
Now the Chinese have always copied or faked, if you like, objects.
Right.
Now this is a white nephrite bead, and it's following the period about 1000 BC, the Zhao or Chao period. But in reality, it's a copy from the Qing period, 1700 AD.
Okay.
So in 1700, the Qing culture were copying their earlier cultures of 1000 BC. So this is a very nicely carved copy of those earlier beads.
But still hand done, wouldn't it?
Hand done, yep. And what is impressive, of course, they've drilled a fairly small hole right through it.
Mm.
That takes some skill, even with a diamond tool.
1700.
Yeah. So what is that? That's 17, 18, 19, 300 years old.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing, eh? And that's all the little beads at the bottom.
These are just modern jadeite beads you can buy very cheaply in tourist shops. They're totally modern. They're made out of offcuts.
Okay.
So when the Chinese are working, and I might say Maori, early Maori as well, they didn't throw the offcuts away. In this case, they've turned them into beads.
Yep.
And often if the Maori had a block of jade, they might cut it into, say, 2 or 3 pieces to make an adze and maybe a couple of chisels.
Right, right.
And then perhaps if a piece was left over, they might have enough for an earring.
Okay.
Eardrop.
Yeah. Right.
And so nothing was wasted.
Yeah. Brilliant. Absolutely magic. Thank you so much. I hope people are really...
I'll give them a bit of a taste.
Yeah. And if anybody's wants to know things, they can leave comments, and I'll forward them on. And yeah, thank you so much. That's really, really, really. Oh, I loved it. Really interesting. Cool bananas. All right. Okay.
Yeah, it's for me, research is ongoing, continuous.
Yep. Right.
Whenever you want to make a shape, a form, do the research.
Yeah, you really got to know the history of what you're doing, don't you? Yeah.
And I like to know the history of the stone.
Okay.
Like
yes. Yeah.
Which river it came from, or creek, or in North China, which desert area it came from.
Yeah.
All of that stuff.
Mm.
It gives you an understanding of the material you're carving, you're working with.
Right. No, that's brilliant, Owen. That's really, really great. Thank you very much.
A pleasure.
All right. Cool.